Hey everyone, welcome back. This video is in special request to Zain Mughal, which asked how you take this beads of rice bracelet off. When you get the Dan Henry watch, it comes with these leather straps that are on the watch, which have quick release. So it's easy to put on, it's easy to take off, extremely easy. And the issue arises when you add the beads of rice bracelet. It's somewhat finicky to put on due to the pins. You fasten them in and eventually they clip on. But it's much easier to put something on than to take it off. So I'll show you guys where the issue arises. And have some patience with me. I'm not a watch reviewer by any means. I just happen to want to make videos. The issue arises in this area, in this small area here. That is where you will be removing the pin. And the problem is that this traditional tool that works for about 98% of straps and removing those little fastener pins, those little bars, you can't get it in this particular setting. So if you see there isn't space. It's getting wedged in there. Dan Henry, if you guys are watching this, or whoever is purchasing a watch, I strongly recommend to suggest a product update here, because it's very difficult to remove that strap. And in my case, I bought 2 of the leather straps, so you're not going to want to be changing back and forth because of the difficulty of this. So a way I found around it is traditionally these little tool kits. I think I got this for around $14 on Amazon. Works very well. It's not the best in terms of the quality of the items, but it works very well to do repairs, adjust straps, bracelets, and change batteries. But in this case, it won't work for this watch with what comes in that toolkit. So I have this. I'll link the description. I got this a few years ago. I don't know if it's still on Amazon, but it's a toolkit that I use for my laptop to open and change little parts in the laptop. So it's a kind of a fine screwdriver kit. And if you notice here, this is a very fine flathead. The size on this is, it just says a negative 1.0. So this is the tip I'll be using. It's a negative 1.0. And again, I'm not a pro by any means, so I'm just messing with my watch and watching you guys react to it. But this tip, what we're gonna do with this little flathead, it's narrow enough. It's narrow enough that we can wedge it in there. And what we want to do is pull that pin down. Here is one of the pins, for example, to show how this process works. Normally you have little grooves here, and this fork kind of catches, and then you pull back. You pull back so that you can release it and pull it out. But since the band is narrow, you can't reach down there. So the teeth normally of this fork style tool would catch here and pull down very nicely. However, because of the tight space, we have to use this very narrow flathead. So it's not going to grip as well, but it's enough that you can pull down. Because the space is so tight, this doesn't really have room to slide side to side. So it's going to pull down on this. And then you want to pull this pin out. So move the bracelet out and up. And I'll try to show you guys on the watch. It's not going to be the best video because it's going to be auto-focusing in and out. You will, however, notice that this tool is narrow enough to slide in there. So I can pull back. You can see there the pin's moving already. And you're just going to want to mess with this Let me go ahead and try this to see what the best process is. After messing with this for a bit, I finally got one of the sides of the bracelet off. And Dan Henry, if you guys are watching this, also for those of you that own the bracelet and plan on purchasing this watch, complain to them because this is way too difficult for the average person to be changing daily. The first step I did was I disconnected this buckle here to open the bracelet. That gives us more space to work in this center area. Here's the push pin for the buckle. I moved this to the side just to make sure I don't get it mixed up. The next thing I did, I put a t-shirt under. You can use any soft material just so you're going to be pushing and using force, so you don't want to drag this and scratch the bracelet or the face. So I put a shirt or something soft. And then the issue with this watch is that because this is shaped to the side of the watch, you don't have much space to work with. I'll show you here. So it sits flush, it sits nice, but we have no access on the side. We have no access from the front. And on the rear, it's super flush. And the only real space we have are the pins there and here. And the traditional tool does not fit in there. I kind of eventually wedged this traditional tool in here, but it's way too difficult. So I kept trying with this 1mm or negative 1.0, whatever this tool number is. What ended up working for me was I unfastened with this tool, I unfastened this first clip of this first push pin side. I pulled and then I pushed up. So you can see it's kind of still unfastened there, so I pushed up. But in order to remove this strap, you need to pull both ends, not just one, both ends. And then the bracelet eventually kind of releases, but what's very annoying is you can't just pull one side out, it needs to be both. So I'm pulling down here and I'm going to push up so it doesn't lock back in place. Again, Dan Henry, this is a terrible design. So I have the pin out there. It hasn't clipped back in. Again, it could clip back in at any moment, but the next step is I'm going to pull this side and it releases. The issue with this bracelet is that you need to pull this end down, and then while you're pulling this end down, while you're pulling this down with this tool, you're pulling down and then with this finger you're pushing up so it doesn't clip back in. So you're pushing up so it doesn't lock back into that hole. And then while you're holding up with this finger, you need to come in and also push this side down and push up. And then while you're pushing up, then you're pulling out. So extremely cumbersome. You're pushing down here, you're pushing up here, and then you're holding, and then you're using the tool to push this side in, making sure this side doesn't clip back in, and then you're pulling out. And eventually it releases, as you saw there. However, for the average person, once you get the hang of this, and again, this isn't the perfect video for this by any means, but it's the first one I found, and most of the other videos are either quick release for the bracelet, or it's talking about adjusting one of the links, not the band removal itself. Let's look at the little slots here. Standard slots where the push pin fastens in, stay secure. But again, Dan Henry, that's unacceptable. It shouldn't have to be that hard to change. So in comparison, these quick release straps, this is I mean, a walk in the park. This takes about 2-3 seconds to attach. Let's see, ready, go. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. 5 seconds to add that on. Make sure to reattach the 2 pieces of the bracelet on the buckle. Pretty simple, you just slide the push pin in, and then you put one end against this, and then with the other end here, it's going to be sticking out a bit. So with the flat end of the tool, not that little fork end, but the flat end, just push down and then push in so it wedges under, and then just align it, move it back and forth slowly, and it'll fasten into this slot. For the end here, I went ahead and removed the push pin as well to kind of show you guys where the issues come. So that piece will be like that. And then this push pin, I took it out, but this push pin runs through. It runs through there, and then it's going to press against the watch. This push pin, there's nothing really to it. So I don't think it's the push pin causing the issues. You see that it's a pretty standard one. Where the issues are going to come are that this piece, it's way too close to this part of the watch, to this part here. So it doesn't give you much gap. Because it doesn't give you much gap, you have to slide it out. You can't angle it. You can't angle it like this and then pull out that way. It has to be straight out because it's so tight in there. So I think it looks nice because of how flush it is against this piece. So it almost looks like one piece. But the downside of that is that it's going to be a headache to remove. Again, if someone has a better way to take this out that is very easy, or there's a special tool, by all means. But as of now, this is pretty much of a headache to change daily, or if you want to change it very consistently. So again, I reached out to Dan Henry. I'm going to wait for them to contact me and see what they say, but I'm going to try to get the details on how to remove this. I might update that in the comments at some point if you guys reach out. So yeah, amateur review, by no means is this professional quality, but I just want to show you guys how to change this because I'm sure you guys like this band, but it is a headache. So maybe buying this aftermarket that doesn't sit as flush might look better. Or actually, I just got an idea. I was about to end the video, but an idea I got is you might even run the push pin through here. Removing this piece, you might be able to run the push pin through these 3 pieces, and it might look uglier. Give me a second, I'm going to try that. Okay, so this isn't going to work. It's going to slide back and forth too much, but this is what I meant. You might be able to put it on without that piece, but now it slides back and forth too much. So unfortunately, you will be needing to use this piece, and this piece is way too tight. It's way too tight in there because you have to slide it almost directly in. You can't slide it from the top or the bottom because these teeth, these little wings too, they kind of fasten in there. So it has to slide in from the side. You can't slide it in from the top. You can't slide it in at an angle. It has to be like almost like straight in. And because of that, it makes it very difficult to remove with just one person or just your average set of tools. So again, you can't, I had the idea, but you know, this is going to slide around way too much and you don't want that. That's the video. It's not the best video. I also got kind of frustrated along the process, but I hope this answers your guys' questions. Feel free to reach out. I'm going to reach out to Dan Henry and say, and ask them what the easier process is. Hopefully they can answer that in the next couple of days. So yeah, this was the video to remove the beads of rice bracelet.